necesitan regresar ahí después. Si tienen alguna pregunta, colóquenla en el chat durante la presentación. Si son en español, Oscar me las va a dar a mí para darle las respuestas por chat. Y vamos a esperar hasta el final para tener una sesión de preguntas y respuestas.
All right. So first up, we have Monica Jones, and she's going to talk to us about how to support your college-going scholar. And I will also caution you, if you pay attention during the presentation, there are some opportunities for you to win gift cards. So I will ask 2 questions in between each presenter to test your knowledge. And the first person in the chat will be eligible to win the gift cards. Oscar, can you translate that for me too, please? You're on mute.
Va a haber oportunidad durante la presentación para que ustedes ganen unas tarjetas de regalo, unas gift cards. Si prestan atención durante la presentación, se les va a decir cómo pueden ganar eso.
All right. Monica?
Okay, good morning, good morning, good morning to everyone. I hope all is well. I am Monica Jones, and I am from Building Scholars, and I'm here to talk for parents only. I understand there are some students on here, and this is fine because you do need this information as well. So we will get moving because I understand we have 30 minutes, and I'm going to try to speak quickly but efficiently so you can get the information that you need. Okay, next slide, please. As she stated, I am Monica Jones. I am a licensed professional counselor and educational consultant. I'm the founder and CEO of Building Scholars, LLC, and I am currently winding down my career at Cass Technical High School in Detroit, Michigan. I am the counselor of college programs, scholarships, and I am the NCAA eligibility coordinator. If you want to take a picture of the screen, that's my website and my email address. Okay, let's get going. All right, next slide. It is that time. You have a senior. If you have a junior right now, just pay attention because your time will be coming soon. But this is for seniors. So the senior year has arrived, and this is the year of the 4 E's. And these are the 4 E's that you will be experiencing. So number 1, senior year is compiled with events. Icebreaker, you have homecoming, you have sports, you have senior trips, college visits, honors convocation, prom, and graduation. And that's just a short list of one of the E's, the events for the senior year. The next E is number 2, expenses, because everything costs, especially that senior year. You have senior dues, you have application fees, college application fees, you have senior trips, enrollment fees when you do get accepted to college, and you have to pay that fee to confirm your spot in the freshman class. You have ACT and SAT, testing, prep, and exams, senior pictures, graduation, costs, parties, unexpected fees and fines. There are always unexpected fees and fines. And also number 3, emotions. You, as well as your senior, will have a roller coaster ride of emotions. You're going to have joy, satisfaction, sadness, loss, confusion, anger, pride, and anticipated loneliness, especially if this is the youngest student in your family or if they're an only child. So you have all of these emotions taking place this year for you and your senior. And number 4, of course, expectations. What are the expectations? What are the academic expectations that you have for your senior and they have for themselves? Social expectations, collegiate expectations, athletic or sports expectations, and what are the financial expectations? I've seen parents basically forego paying bills to make sure their students have a wonderful prom or homecoming. So you have to have expectations, but we have to be reasonable. Okay, next slide, please. First things first, you and your senior should have a conversation. Let's talk. What are their future aspirations? Are there goals? Do they have college goals? Do they have career goals? What are their plans? College goals, vocational. Are they going to do vocational first and then go to college? You have to have that conversation, or military. And what are your expectations? As we talked about that before, academic expectations, extracurricular, and financial. Students should have a part-time job. Senior year is not cheap. It is expensive. I forgot to put in there high school photos and things like that. And that stuff adds up. And also, what is the plan? Do you have a map? Do you have a map of the academic plan, the scholarship plan, if they're going to play collegiate sports? And also, what's the deadline for all of those different plans? Next slide, please. Now, college is big business. Let it not be known. And you have to play the game. But first and foremost, you have to understand the game. With college entries, you have a number of applicants and you have a number of accepted applicants. College applications and the college acceptance process is very, very competitive. For Purdue University, on average, last year, they got 59,100 applications, and the accepted students were 10,191. University of Michigan, they received 80,000 applications for a class of 16,235. University of Wisconsin, 60,260 applications last year, and they accepted 8,628 students in their freshman class. Now, as you can see, those numbers are mad crazy. So you have to be able to set yourself aside and come out of the applicant circle and go to the accepted circle. So you have to have an affirmative and a positive and an awesome college application. Number one, your application has to stand out, okay? Keep that in mind. You have to make a memorable presentation to the admission staff. Number three, you have to have a strong package. So what makes you stand out, okay? This is for parents and students because parents should always be monitoring what the students are doing, okay? Next slide. So keep in mind, presentation is everything. The application has to be well developed. You want to include every single thing. So parents, you can oversee your students' application. They need to include their academic honors, any honor roll, commendations. Number two, do they have any extracurricular activities? Do they play athletics? Are they any parts of organizations? Do they have a leadership role in one of those organizations? Do they do any community service? Do they have any gifts or talents? All of that should be included in the application. Letters of recommendation as well. They need to make sure when you ask someone to write a letter of recommendation, you have to have a favorable letter of recommendation, not just I'm writing this letter on behalf of Monica Jones. She is a senior at Cass Technical High School. She plans to go to college for this. That's very, very basic. What is the student's best attribute or attributes? And of course, you have to be mindful who you ask to write those favorable letters of recommendation, okay? You don't want a bland letter of recommendation. And of course, what's really, really big and huge, you have to have an effective, efficient, and well-written essay. There are three types of essays that if you have a strong essay in all three of these categories, you can pretty much write your ticket. And that could be a part of your college application. Number one is your biographical. Of course, who are you? Where do you come from? How does your family influence who you are and what type of person or adult you're gonna be? Number two, what type of challenges and obstacles have you had throughout your life? What are you doing to overcome those challenges and obstacles? What practices have you put into place to overcome those things? And how will attending that college or university allow you to do that? And number three, I'm not sure if you can see it, but basically number three is, what's the goal-oriented essay? What are your goals? What are your dreams? What are your endeavors? What are the necessary steps you're taking to achieve those goals and those dreams? So these three elements right here, this is the part of a strong academic, a strong college application package. Next slide, please. Now, best practices. Parents, this is what we need to do. You, along with your senior, and even if you're not a senior, if you're a junior or a sophomore, you should be planning and preparing. Create a timeline and a plan before senior year. Hopefully, this is not the first time you all have done some of the things that I'm talking about now, okay? Create a timeline, create a plan for senior year. That may be college visits. That may be attending college fairs. That may be speaking with college admission advisors. Create a timeline and plan. Next, do everything early. To be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late, and to be late is to miss out. Do everything early. That includes your college applications. That includes the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, and also enrollment and housing fees. If you wait to do those things, in some cases in big schools like the University of Wisconsin, if you apply late, there may not be a space for you in the freshman class if you wait for the regular admissions day. I always tell my students to make sure you apply by November 1st, which is the early admissions deadline. If that's one of your top 5 schools, you should be applying early to meet that deadline. So when you're accepted, you make sure you get a space in that class. And if you know that that's where you're going to attend, pay your enrollment fee. You don't have to wait for the May 1st deadline. Also, parents, we want to encourage and empower our students to be responsible. So maybe once a week, just check in with your student. Hey, how's it coming? Let's look at that timeline. Let's look at that map. Where are you at this particular place? Have you done this? Have you done that? Where are you in the process? Also, parents, you want to hold students accountable. A lot of times, some of the things that I see a lot of parents, they just kind of leave it to their student. And then when the time comes, fast forward to like April or May, when money has to be turned in and confirmation letters have to be written, sometimes a student hasn't dotted every I and crossed every T. So we want to hold our students accountable and check in often. And also, as I said before, make sure you attend the college fairs and the college visits. Sometimes a lot of the colleges will come to your high school to visit and speak with students. If those are some of the schools you're interested in, go and attend those college fairs and those college visits. And also, parents, I know this is hard, but allow your student to decide the school, the major, and the path they want to take. Now, I hear you say, well, Monica, I'm paying for this. And I get that. And I understand that. A lot of my students like to go out of state. So I explained to them, out of state, if you're going out of state, it's going to cost twice as much as it would if you attended school in state. So you have to apply for the scholarships and you have to get the extra money to pay that difference. Okay, so that's the deal that we make. You can go wherever you want to go, but if it's out of state, you have to apply for scholarships to pay that out of state difference. Next slide, please. Okay, worst practices. And I've been doing this for 28 years. On November 7th, this will be my 28th year in education. And these are some of the mistakes that I've seen. So brace yourselves. The helicopter parents are coming. I know you've heard that term before. Helicopter parents and lawnmower parents. So these parents, helicopters, they kind of hover over everything, and not the students. They hover over us. They hover over the teachers. Make sure, are you doing this? Did you give them this? Did you give them that? How did you do that? Okay. It's a 3-part pie. It's the parents, the students, and the educator. Everybody plays a role, but the students have to do their part. Make sure they're doing their part. And the lawnmower parent. Instead of preparing children for the challenges, lawnmower parents like to mow the obstacles down so the kids won't experience them in the first place. I'll give you a quick example. One of my seniors has a pre-calculus class, and her teacher is an international teacher. So she has a heavy and thick accent. So the parent asked me to remove her from the class. And my comment to her was absolutely not. Well, she can't understand what she's saying. I said, well, she's been teaching with us for the last 10 years and students go through her class and they pass her class and they move on to graduate. So you have to understand that. And she's like, well, Miss Jones, my daughter wants to go to Howard. She wants to go to Michigan. She wants to apply to all these schools. And I said, trust and believe. I went to Howard University. 1/3 of her teachers are going to be international and they're going to have very thick accents. She needs to understand and learn how to step up to the challenge. That may mean going to speak to her after class. That may mean going to tutoring. That may mean getting in a study group. You have to balance that and figure out the best way to achieve, because trust and believe, when they get to the collegiate level, life is going to be totally different than it usually is. Next slide, please. Okay, and as we said before, lawnmower parents perform the tasks the child is capable of doing alone, not necessarily limited to high school and college. Helicopter parenting can occur at any age. And this does happen at the college level. It didn't used to, but this is a new thing. Sometimes I have parents who are constantly calling the teacher or professor about poor grades. Now at the college level, the professors don't have to speak to you. You don't have a right really to intrude and find out what happens, but I pay the bill. But unless your student signs a waiver, that professor does not have to give you that information. And in fact, they will not give you that information. Okay. Another thing, arranging the child's class schedule. or completing the college scholarship applications. I have parents now, Ms. Jones, I'm doing the Common App right now. Why are you doing the Common App? And she's going to college. Come on, mom, you got it. I know it's a lot of work, but you have to let them do the work for themselves, because when they go off to college, you're not going to be there with them. And we want to, once again, empower our students. And also finding excessive fault with teachers and counselors and coaches, and expecting a child to receive unwarranted credit or privileges. Consequences for helicopter parenting. Sometimes lack of life and coping skills. And I see this all the time. Kids have a hard time when they go off to college, and they have a hard time coping with challenges and obstacles. Well, these are things that we need to teach while they're younger, and especially while they're in high school and get ready to move on. Also, that illusion of entitlement, they're supposed to give this to me. It's supposed to be that way, right? No, it's not supposed to be that way. And a lot of times, sometimes if you let a child go through their challenges and take the necessary measures to overcome those challenges and those obstacles, their self-esteem gets stronger, their confidence gets stronger. They build that. Not doing that will cause them to have low self-esteem and low confidence. They're unable to handle emergencies, and sometimes they have anxiety and they panic. Remember, we want to empower our students, not enable them. We want to empower them and make them strong. Next slide, please. Okay, so reminders, do's and don'ts. And this is all in love. And we have a little error right there, but don't be a helicopter parent, okay? It's okay to foresee and ask and check back in, but don't be a helicopter parent or a Blumore parent. And also, don't permit the students to be irresponsible, okay? Again, you shouldn't be doing their college applications. You shouldn't be doing their scholarship applications. They should be doing that themselves. Give them one day a week. Okay, you have this Saturday, no mall, no games, no parties, no nothing. You have to finish your college applications by the November 1st deadline, and you have to finish the FAFSA by this deadline. So take that day. Put the responsibility where it belongs. Also, parents, please don't withhold important information from the student or colleges, such as taxes. Now, this goes along with the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. A lot of times I have parents who are weary about that because they're like, well, that's my personal information. You know, I'm like, this is my government information, is too private. But keep in mind, this is the United States government. They already have your information. This is just for them to put on the FAFSA so they can create a financial profile to submit to all of the schools that you place on that FAFSA, so they can determine what financial aid, what grants, what scholarships and other things, other types of aid that your child qualifies for. So that's all it really is to create a financial profile. Divorced parents, reminder, only one parent should claim the student on the income taxes. Okay, now if both parents, and I've seen this happen, if both parents claim the student on the income taxes, the students can and will lose financial aid eligibility. Please don't cheat on the FAFSA, because like we said before, it is the government. Be honest. And sometimes being honest means you may not get as much financial aid as you want to get. But again, that's why you have scholarships, and that's why you have your students applying for outside scholarships as well. And parents, please don't do this. Take out excessive parent loans. I've seen parents take out student loans for $20,000 and $32,000. Keep in mind, if your child goes to college and they decide that they don't want to go to college the second year or the third or the fourth year, you're still responsible for those student loans. If your child decides to finish and graduate, you're still responsible for those student loans. They don't have to pay them back. They're in your name. You have to pay them back. Again, make sure that they have skin in the game. As my mom used to say, this is your education, dear. So you have to be responsible as well. We'll pay our part, but you have to do your part as well. So parents, please don't take out those excessive parent loans. Next slide, please. Okay, so at the end, and this time is going to fly by as quickly as you think. Right now, we're on October. Before you know it, it's going to be May. It's going to be June. You're going to be at prom. It's going to be time for graduation. Some of you will be attending Summer Bridge at University of Wisconsin, or maybe whatever other school you may attend. And it's going to be a happy moment. But you have to put the work in now to move forward. Now, parents, you've done the work. You've made sure that your students have done the work. Now we're talking about you. Now what? What do you do when it's time for your child to move on? I hope you've been putting away money in an account, a vacation account, because there are some things you can be doing as the parent. You need to pat yourself on the back because you've done the work. You've made sure that your student has done the work, and you've put in time, you've put in blood, sweat, and tears. It is your time to do what? Have some fun, okay? Find a hobby, or if you had a hobby that you had to drop because you had to raise your children and now this is the last child out of the house, go back to that hobby or find another hobby. Take a class, take a workout class, take a sewing class or whatever kind of class you want. Go back to college yourself if that's something you want to do. Join a club, whatever kind of club. Hey, if date, not married people, just date. Married people, if you're married, start dating again, date each other again. You two start going out on dates and having a little fun. You're empty nesters now. You can go do whatever you want to do. If you're single, maybe you might want to find that special someone. What about you? Because again, you've put your blood, sweat, and tears, your time, energy, and your money into your children, and now it is your time. It is time to enjoy your life. And by all means, travel. One of my good friends, throughout her daughter's senior year, and it was her last child, she was putting money in a bank account, For what? Her travel expenses. But she was also on RoyalCaribbean.com, and she had put a down payment on a cruise, and she would pay it every now and then, pay a little bit. So when she went to drop her daughter off at school, she dropped her off, came back home, went to the airport, and went on that cruise. It is completely possible. So once again, this is about your child. It is about your student, but it's also about you, and you get a chance to enjoy life too. A lot of your pride is in your children, but again, a lot of that pride could be you and the life that you live because you've paid your dues and you've done what you're supposed to do. So enjoy your life. Next slide, or is that it? Okay, that is it. I went through that quickly, maybe too quickly, but we can take some questions.
Thank you, Monica, for that information. If there are any questions that's like burning desire questions you want to ask, we can do it now. We also have time at the end of the presentation. We have one more speaker. If not, we'll go right into the questions that you all can earn some gift cards for. Okay. We'll move on to the questions from the presentation. So hopefully you all were paying attention to some of the information that Monica was saying. We're now going to move into the first question. And the way it will work is the first person in the chat that I see with the correct answer will win the prize. So here is the question. Which of the following statements is true or false? The 4 E's to senior year is event, expenses, emotions, and expectations. I see them all coming on here. The correct answer is true. And the first person I saw with that in the chat is it Hera? Is that how you pronounce your name?
Kira.
Hera. If you can direct message me your email, I can, and your student name, I'll send you your information.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Next question. What is the consequences of being a helicopter lawnmower parent? A, low self-esteem, confidence. B, great coping skills. C, illusion of entitlement. D, ANC. Let's see. That goes to AJ. That's the first person I see in the chat. AJ, if you can direct message me your email and your student name, I can send off yours as well. Okay, that was our, oh, I have a hand. I only see iPhone, I don't see a name, but do you have a question?
Is it Julieta? Did I pronounce that correct? Did I pronounce that correctly? Okay. will there be resources to help students write their essays?
Yes, absolutely. So your students, if they are currently seniors, they started writing their essays with us in the summer. And if they are not seniors, when they get to their junior year at Peoples Summer University, we help them start writing their essays. And then in the fall of their senior year, we have our virtual writing center. And students have to sign up to do a certain amount of time in a virtual writing center. And that is where students get help from people with writing their essays. I see one more hand up in the chat. It's a iPhone. It says iPhone. Do you still have a question?
So hold on.
Okay.
Okay, I think is it IO? Between 2019 and 2020, about 24% of first-time, full-time undergraduate first-year students dropped out of college. 2021, 31.6 students were enrolled. In 2015, were no longer enrolled 6 years later and had not received their college degree. How do you help so that students don't drop out? And that kind of goes back to the beginning when I said, sit down and have that conversation to find out if college, a 4-year college, is what your student wants. Maybe it's a 2-year college, maybe it's a vocational school. Just kind of like ask them what their plan is. You know, what's their desired career? What's their desired educational goal? And map those things out. One of my students had a full ride to a university, to Michigan State University. He was a great student. He received financial aid, but he had also gone to visit some vocational schools. And he came to me one day and he said, Ms. Jones, he said, I think I'm going to go to a vocational school and get my certification to become an electrician. He said, because I can go here for like 14 months, become an apprentice, and actually have a job and do all of this within a year. And I can make this a certain amount of money and I won't have any extra student loan debt or anything after that, which he would have accumulated over the years. And my response to him was, if that's what you want to do, fine. I'm not here to tell you which road to take, but if that's what you want to do, he said, well, I can go back to college later. He said, because if I work for a company, they may pay my college tuition. He said, so I can do it that way. And I said, that was fine. And that's why that's the importance of having that conversation to find out, because a lot of students will go off to college because that's what their friends are doing. That's because that's what they think they should do, but have them entertain all options to make sure, because one thing you don't want to waste time, you don't want to waste money. So have that conversation. What's your grand plan? What's your desired goal? What's your desired career goal and things like that?
Okay, and then we will come back. I know there's one more question in the chat about saving money. I believe it's from Elsa, and we will come back to that as soon as we finish the next presentation.
Okay. I'll go on mute.
So next up is Goodson Vu. He is our Associate Director for College. So for the students who complete the People program in pre-college and go on to come to UW-Madison, they then leave the pre-college side of People and they go over to the college side of People. Goodson operates and runs the college side of People, and he's going to talk to you about the People Scholarship and how it works and what it pays for. So Goodson, I will spotlight you and you can take it away.
Thank you, Kia. Good morning, everyone. It's awesome. 60+ people in the room. This is amazing on a Saturday. I suppose it's cold, so we got nowhere to go. Just real quick, I want to, for the parents and the seniors that will be planning to come to UW-Madison this year, I'm putting in the chat the dates for the Summer Collegiate Experience Program, which students that want to come to plan to attend UW-Madison in the fall and or next year and be in scholarship will need to participate in one more summer program, a summer bridge program, as Monica mentioned earlier. The one for the People students is the Summer Collegiate Experience, or SCE, and the dates are June 24th to August 4th. Move-in day is Saturday the 24th, so just sharing that so you all know how to plan your students' graduation parties or vacations or doctor's appointments or any leave around those dates. Weekends are usually pretty open, so you can do stuff on the weekends with students if they need to travel, but for the weekdays, try to not have anything during the weekday just because they're taking college classes. The other thing before I go into this presentation is I just want to propose, maybe you all can be, and don't be helicopter parents or lawnmower parents, but be FedEx parents or Amazon parents. You know, the parents where you just send the goods and the food to your students. Because they need that for sure too. But also let them grow and let them, you know, thrive in college independently. But yes, I'll jump into the scholarship and what does the scholarship cover, who is eligible, and the question about how much money to save and expenses. I'll try to do a breakdown as much as possible and share some examples with you all to help you prepare and understand students' bills. So students who, for the pre-college people student, anyone who successfully completes our pre-college program, meaning that they completed a summer program, they graduated from high school, they were in good standing with people, and they attend UW-Madison next year, or even for the students that they decide to transfer to UW-Madison, are eligible for the 4-year in-state tuition scholarship. And it is an in-state tuition scholarship, so we want to make sure that students have Wisconsin residencies, established Wisconsin residency. Sometimes when students apply for UW-Madison, they don't check the box, or they mischeck the box, or they miss some information, and the university doesn't think they're a Wisconsin resident, and we just follow up with them to make sure that everything's in place so that they can be billed for Wisconsin residency, so they don't only get charged in-state tuition. The good thing is we have friends over at the residence office that we work with. So if you're students, or if you are a senior, a student in this room, and you get emails from that office, you can always work with us and we can try to connect and help respond to those questions. The other thing is required is completing a FAFSA, as Monica mentioned. Students need to do FAFSA to get financial aid for their education. Doesn't matter where they go. This is not unique to UW-Madison. And there is a priority deadline of December 1st. So for any seniors right now, if they complete their FAFSA, I mean, primarily by December 1st, and they also apply to UW-Madison in the early admission enrollment notification, when they're admitted, you can receive your award letters to see what kind of funding you're going to receive from UW-Madison. And that'll also include the scholarship on there. So you can make decisions on how is UW-Madison worth, you know, like how to prepare financially. Is it cheaper or financially realistic to come to UW or to go somewhere first? And then the other thing for eligibility is students need to abide by all academic, non-academic requirements of university. That includes like academic misconduct is like cheating in classes and so forth. Non-academic could be like extremely, could be like fighting, right? And we do also have students complete a scholarship agreement to maintain eligibility of their scholarship. All right, we can move on to the next slide. So I'm gonna try to explain this to you all as simple as possible of what are students getting charged. So college students, all college students, you see graduate and undergraduates, have to pay what the university calls segregated fees, which are basically fees to help with student organizations. You'll see like the Wisconsin Union, you'll even see like the bus pass, or students that need childcare support, university health services. Like a lot of these fees go into some of the campus resources that provide services and support to students campus-wide. All undergraduate students pay this. And most, I believe all, if not most, institutions the student goes to is going to have segregated fees as part of their bill. For this year, the segregated fees were $761.52. We can move on here. And so I'm gonna try to break this down. We can answer questions and clarifications later. So you'll see that on the far left column for Wisconsin resident students, how much tuition costs. But this cost you see at the bottom, the $5,398.20, include that $761.52 segregated fee. So in the notes, I put instructional fee cost $4,636. This is like for the classes and the credits. And then you add a segregated fees like the bus pass, the house, the UHS student org fee, and the total cost for tuition for a student, just tuition, is $5,398.20. You also notice that students get charged the breakdown by credits. And at the bottom, it says 12 to 18. So I want to be clear that to be an enrolled full-time student, especially if your student needs to enroll full-time for insurance purposes or other, scholarships and stuff, they need to be enrolled for at least 12 to 18 credits as a full-time student to be considered a full-time student. And so an average class ranges from 3 to 5 credits. So you're thinking like if 12 credits could be 4 classes at 3 credits or 6 classes at 18 credits. Also note that to earn a bachelor's degree, a student needs to earn 120 credits to even be, just to hit the credit minimum. Sometimes some majors require more credits and students take more than 120, but if they don't hit the 120 credits minimum, they would not be eligible to earn a bachelor's degree. And so when we think about the People's Scholarship, which is the guarantee for 4 years, we need to also break down, and we explain this to the college students too, and when they come in for orientation. So just to help you understand, I'm trying to break it down for you all. We do tell students that yes, 12 credits minimum, but if you're really trying to graduate in 4 years, you want to earn at least 30 credits a year to hit the 120 credit minimum. So just explaining to you all the breakdown and how we support and advise the scholars in terms of credit load, because some semesters they may need 12, but also some semesters they need more, which is also the benefit of that summer collegiate experience program, as we explained at the senior cohort, was they earn 6 credits before they start the program, or any summer bridge program really. The students come in earning credits, earning some sort of credits in preparation for college to allow them to have a balance or maybe a lighter credit load in their school year. All right, I apologize. It's Saturday morning and we're trying to do a lot of math, but just bear with me. So what does the People's Scholarship cover? This is per semester. By the way, the previous information that I shared was by per semester only. So if you want to think of the whole year, the fall semester and spring semester, we just double everything. So for example, the tuition will be $5,398.20 for 1 semester. So the People's Scholarship would cover that exact amount. So if you're wondering how much was the People's Scholarship this year, it's $5,398.20. If the tuition ever goes up, then the amount of the People's Scholarship increases with it. So we don't really, sometimes people ask us what the how much is the scholarship? I usually give a range because it's a tuition scholarship, so the scholarship fluctuates based on the cost of tuition. If tuition goes down, the scholarship becomes less. But that is, so what we cover is the undergraduate instructional fee and the segregated fees only. What we don't cover is a new student fee that all new students have to pay one time only in the first semester. The university has also moved to offering e-textbooks for some courses, not all courses, but for some. And students that are in a classroom that has the e-textbook, they will get charged an e-textbook fee that's $50 to $75 per class that the scholarship does not cover as well. Which still seems like a lot of money, but compared to like some textbooks that are hundreds of dollars, this is a much cheaper, affordable route. an option for students. And then we don't pay for housing. So I just put some ranges here. I put a lot of links to the website to give you a breakdown. But the range for rooms, depending on size, like 1 roommate, 2 roommate, 3 roommates, and so forth, ranges from $3,000 to about $4,000 per semester. And then all students that live in the dorms have to have a dining plan. And the cheapest dining plan is $1,900 to $2,700. So if you're trying to break down how much to prepare or how much a student's education costs, you can add that like $5,300 plus these fees, plus, whatever, if they stay in the dorm, what the housing costs and so forth. The university also does, the financial aid office also based off the FAFSA and your taxes will calculate, how much financial need a student needs and try to offer whatever they can to support the student too. But that's all depends on you completing the taxes for the parent. And you complete the taxes and the student getting to submit their FAFSA on time. Okay, we can go to the next. So I'm going to do 2 sample tuition bills to give you an explanation again of how it's broken down. One is going to be a tuition bill. This one is going to be without housing. This student isn't living in the dorms. And then one will be a student that lives in the dorm to give you a breakdown of what it is. And please note that it is only the fall tuition. So again, this is only for 1 semester this fall from September to January. You'll see all these fees here are the segregated fees that I shared earlier. It's all added on here. Also note at the top, the amount where it says $10,000. This is what the university thinks the student needed and how much they were awarded. So you'll see there's health fees and union fees and all that all factored in. If we can go to the second half, I had to break it into 2 pages because it's so long. What you'll see here is the undergraduate instructional is there, and then the People's Scholarship paid. So this is a negative amount because we paid that $5,300.98 or $398.20 to cover all of those previous charges. But this student, because they've had their FAFSA on time and based off their parents' tax information, also the university department, they needed more support, right? So they were eligible for the Pell Grant. They received another grant for $500. They received it with like a lot of grants and scholarships. And the part that I highlight at the bottom in the red is called a refund. So this student received what is called a refund check because the university thinks that the student needs $10,000 to for like this fall semester is their financial need, right? And so they're awarded all these grants and scholarships to support and supplement that other need because the People's Scholarship only covered about half of it. So this student received either a check or direct deposit into their account for $5,100, and this is the date that it came through. Now, the news it is a lot of money. It's a lot. This is the part where teaching your students financial planning and how to manage their finances is important because for this student, this $5,000 is a lot of money and it's great, but they really should be applying for their education, right? If they need to pay for textbooks that aren't part of the e-textbook fee and they have to buy textbooks, or if they need food to pay for food, if they live in an apartment to pay for their rent and their utilities, their phone bills, and all of that. So it is good money, but it's not really money to be helping you go on your Royal Caribbean cruise that Monica talked about earlier. It's really for the student to not have to worry so much about meeting their financial expenses. Next one is a tuition bill with housing. The first part, you see this, I'm just gonna point out this student, the university department, they need $11,000, so a little bit more than the other student. And that's the part that's different where students can't be comparing financial aid packages because it all depends on parents' income level. And so this student was determined that they needed $11,000 to meet their financial needs and their cost of education. So the first page again just breaks down all the segregated fees they have to take. The second page, the second page is where you'll see this student lives in a dorm. Their dorm costs $4,000. Their dining plan is $1,900. They also had an air conditioner in there, so they had to pay a $200 air conditioner. I think that might be an option. I don't know if that's a requirement. And then students living in the dorms also need to do a deposit. And this student was charged a $50 advance payment. And again, the People's Scholarship applied for the tuition. So that amount only pays tuition. It doesn't cover any of the parts that are highlighted in red above. And the student also received grants and scholarships and so forth. But the thing I want to point out is that you'll see at the bottom, they still had to pay $20. After all the grants and the People's Scholarship covered all their expenses, the student was still short $20. So they actually had to pay, they made a credit card payment for $20 because of and the difference is that they had the housing fee, right? So now that $5,000 the other student got would have paid for all of these bills in the red, but because the first student in the example I provided does not live in the dorm, they don't have that bill. So they get that money, but they need to apply it to whatever their housing is. This is just a link for helping you all, because I think you're gonna try to figure out, does it make sense for your student or as you as a student to live in the dorm? Like this is on a purely financial. There's also like pros and cons for experiences, but for financial reasons, does it make sense to stay in the dorm or does it make sense to commute if you're from Madison? Or does it make sense to try to find an apartment near campus, knowing that if you're from Madison, apartments around campus are expensive. And so that's why I put this link here. This is from the UW website to just kind of help you do some research and understand how much does rent cost. So when the student is trying to determine if they should stay in the dorms or not, this is definitely one of those tools to help them understand the financial aspect of responsibility from a housing standpoint. I mean, from a financial standpoint. So I went through this really quick, but I wanted to leave room for questions. And this is being recorded and we can always answer more questions later on if you all have any too, but that's what I covered today.
Thank you so much, Goodson. Parents, families, do we have any questions that haven't already been addressed in the chat? Yes, your student can start applying for scholarships in their junior year. Absolutely. There are some that are available for juniors and even sophomores. I started applying for scholarships in my sophomore year when I was in college.
Yes, I would agree, yes. The thing I will say, if they're coming to UW-Madison and they're getting the People's Scholarship, the People's Scholarship covers tuition. So if a student is applying for outside scholarships that say tuition, that they might not fully get to fully use that money because we already paid the tuition part. So if we go back to the bill, you want a scholarship that doesn't specify tuition only. It could say like full scholarship, or it could say tuition and books or tuition and board or something. Then they can use that money to offset the other expenses. But if they apply for any scholarship that says for tuition only, and it really specifies that, the university is only gonna apply that for the tuition cost, which we already covered. So it's like they receive the money, but they can't use it because it's paying the same bill. I hope that explains, or at least kind of makes sense here at UW. If they're going somewhere else, the scholarship doesn't follow them. So the People's Scholarship doesn't follow. So then they should definitely apply. And if you're not sure, just apply anyways.
Brenda, you have your hand up. Is Brenda still here with us?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, hi. Just a quick question. Is there a limit parents should make an income before for the child to qualify for a FAFSA aid?
Let's see, is there a time to mention your income, you said?
Yeah, so like, let's say if the parents make too much money, will the child still qualify for FAFSA aid, or is there a limit? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think your FAFSA the student FAFSA, like they're applying right now for next year, it's gonna base off of your income from last year. Your previous taxes you just completed or that you did for the past year. So let's say if a student had both parents working last year and the income looks really high, but let's say one parent stopped working, or the parent that claimed the student got a different job that made less money, or taking a break, and the monthly income has changed. Students can appeal for an adjustment based off of that, but then they'd have to provide like updated tax information and pay information. But like, I hope that kind of is answering it. Not like it's based off of last year, so I think it's already established. I don't know, you can change your income for this year unless something changes. We can try to make an adjustment.
I
And
can
we
probably add. I'm sorry, go ahead, Kia.
We would encourage all families to do FAFSA regardless to how much you think you make, because you never know what a school may have in different type of aid rewards that you can still qualify for. So it's always best to do your FAFSA, and you can't even get your Pupil Scholarship if it's not done.
Right. All scholarships, awards, grants, everything is processed through the FAFSA. So everyone has to do the FAFSA, unless you're a parent who could just simply write a check and give it to the university to pay all college tuition fees and room and board and everything. You need to complete the FAFSA. The FAFSA should be completed as soon as possible. I usually tell my students, before you leave for Thanksgiving or Christmas, your FAFSA should be complete, because financial aid award letters usually go out around February or March. And that's a breakdown of award awards, grants, and other aid that you qualify for based on your household income. So everybody's financial aid award letter is going to be different depending on how much parents make and how much money they bring in the household, how many people are in the household, how many people attend college. They take all of that into consideration. And when they look at that financial aid, that profile that's on the FAFSA, that's when they determine what you may qualify for. So you could make a substantial amount of money, but if you have 3 children in college and you're paying tuition for the other 2 and will be for 3, that may put you in a different category, and your child may be able to get some financial aid. So all of that is taken into consideration. That's why they ask you 50 million questions on the FAFSA.
And I'm going to pause from questions. I know we have a couple questions, but I want to go ahead and do these 2 questions while Goodson's presentation is fresh on your brain. So here's another opportunity for you to win some gifts and prizes. And here is the question. True or false? Let's see who is in the chat. Okay. And the answer to this is false. The first person I see that came through is it Brian Trotter?
Yes, I'm his mom, Sonia Green.
Okay.
It's Breon Trotter. Yeah.
Brian, wonderful. If you could please direct message me your email and your student name, that would be great.
Thank you.
And here is our last question.
That was Brenda Chan who answered false. The first person, it looks like it.
The first person that comes through on my end was who I identified.
Yeah, it was Breon Trotter.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I see those answers coming in. And the correct answer is D. So the first person I see with the letter D, let me just make sure. Yes, the first person is it Christina?
Yes, it is.
Wonderful. Congratulations. If you can direct message me your email and your student name, that will be great.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So I am now about to put the link for all of your students who are here for you to receive credit. Your students will receive credit towards their ACE hours for you being present today. And I'm about to put that link in the chat right now.
Also, Kia, can I add, I put a few scholarship links in the chat as well. Scholarship links for the month of October. The deadline is October for this one. One from Penguin and Random House and one from Heisman for our scholar athletes. That's a scholarship that ranges anywhere between $1,000 and $10,000. So there is no limit to the number of scholarships you can apply for. Again, I understand the People's Scholarship is for tuition only, correct? So you're going to need some extra funds to tackle room and board and fees. And, you know, fees can be anything. You know, when you go to that nice plush gym that you go to, the workout center, all that's wonderful, but that's what's included in your fees. And when they tell you, oh, no, it's free. No, that's included in your fees. So you want to apply for some scholarships to help pay for those extra fees and room and board and anything else and miscellaneous expenses that may occur.
Absolutely. So I will give 2 more announcements and then we'll get back to questions and answer because I want to honor the time that we told you all we will take of you. So again, the attendance link is now in the chat. Please fill it out for each student you're representing here today. The folks who won our little prizes, you will receive them. They're going to get ordered on Monday and they should be in your email boxes by about 2 weeks. It usually takes to get those back to you. Also, this presentation is being recorded. So the recording as well as the PowerPoint presentation will be on our website by Monday, no later than Tuesday. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to some of the questions that did not get answered in the chat. Oscar, if you could translate the information regarding where the PowerPoint presentation recording will be.
Okay, let me see. I don't see any Spanish here. I'm looking for Spanish in the chat.
No, what I just said. If you can read, if you can translate what I just said.
Could I ask
about
you
the
to come again,
PowerPoint.
Miss?
Okay.
I didn't hear you in full.
So the PowerPoint and the recording will be made available on our website by Tuesday.
Thank you. La presentación de PowerPoint y la grabación va a estar disponible en nuestro sitio web para el martes.
Okay, one question I saw was, do we need to complete the FAFSA form before we submit our college application? Monica Goodson, do you
Actually,
know?
hopefully you're doing that simultaneously. Again, the opening date for the FAFSA for fall 2023 was October 1st. You want to make sure you complete your FAFSA and submit your FAFSA. I tell my students no later than Thanksgiving. So the schools can have your information. There are 10 slots on that FAFSA where you can put the 10 colleges that you want your financial information sent to. You don't have to use all 10 slots because you may find a school you want to apply to later. You can just go in and you can add that school. But I would say you want to have it submitted by Thanksgiving. Financial aid award letters begin to go out around February or March, and that's when you start to see what the colleges and universities are offering you in terms of aid, grants, and other types of aid and funding.
The next question I saw was from Joe. It says, any scholarships require FAFSA, but it also is basically an application for federal student aid. Anyone would accept the scholarship, but not everyone wants to take the student loan debt. So be careful what you're agreeing to in your award letter. Does that sound correct?
Yeah. You more than likely you're going to have a grant. If you qualify for the Pell Grant, you might have a merit scholarship. If you have the People's Scholarship and maybe some other monies, you're also going to be offered loans as well. You can decline those. You can decline any part of your financial aid award letter. You can accept any part of your financial aid award letter. So if you do choose to decline your student loans and you have a scholarship to take place of that student loan, you can do that.
Can I just add that student loans are not automatically accepted, so you have to go into accept or decline. So it's not like a trick to make you get student loans. The student needs to go in and like check the box that they accept or decline. For UW-Madison, students that are awarded scholarships and grants, it's automatically accepted. But work study and loan students need to choose to accept or decline. The other thing I want to add is someone asked, can they apply for sports or extracurricular scholarships?
Mhm.
I'm going to say yes if they're eligible for. I will say apply for every scholarship and grant you're eligible for. Just know that the university, based off the FAFSA, will determine your financial need and how much you are awarded. So if you're awarded $50,000 in grants and scholarships, a student may not receive all of that just because it's more than their financial need. If those funds are coming to the university.
Right.
If uncle writes a scholarship to the student directly, that's okay, because that's just cash. But if any money that's sent to the university from scholarship and grant, as much as the student that is determined for student need will be the student will receive. So just so that when you think your student won $100,000 in grants and scholarships and you're wondering why they didn't get all that money, it's because they're not going to be able to get it all.
Right. And let me add, there are scholarships out there for any and everything. You have to do the research. Google is always a great tool. You have scholarships for bowling. One of my students got a bowling scholarship. You have, my nephew got a scholarship for being tall. He's 6'7" and 300 pounds. He plays football, obviously. But the requirement for the scholarship was he had to be 6'3" or taller. Of course, you're filling out that scholarship, nephew. So do the research. There are all sorts of scholarships. You have people who are first generation and they have good jobs, they make a lot of money and they offer scholarships. A lot of our alumni at our high school, they give out scholarships. So some of the scholarships are made personally to you. So it may not be made out to the school. The check may be made in your name. And if that's the case, if you do get those scholarships, create a bank account to put that money in that account, because trust and believe, miscellaneous things and unexpected expenses always come up in college. So you want to have that money ready. So yes, for athletics, the Heisman high school scholarship, that is for student athletes, someone who participates in any high school sport, but also who has an extensive community college background or volunteer, not community college, community service or volunteer service background. So there are all sorts of scholarships out there. Gifts, talents, you play a particular instrument, there's a scholarship. You're a gamer, you create games, there's a scholarship for that.
There is a question in the chat, Oscar, that's in Spanish. Could you please translate that? Do you see it?
It's at 12:05.
It'll say 11:05 on our end, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm on Michigan time. I'm sorry.
Do you see it, Oscar?
So it said, in how long will we have like results from our FAFSA scholarship? Like when will we know the results?
The earlier you complete your FAFSA, the sooner you'll get the results back. Now, let's say you wait to complete your FAFSA and submit it in March. The danger in doing that is that you're probably not going to get the funds that you could have gotten had you submitted it a couple months prior. It depends on the school too, because again, you get to list the different schools on your FAFSA. So one school may get it back to you right away. Another school might take a couple of weeks. One may take longer. So it depends on the school.
Entonces, en respuesta a la pregunta en cuánto tiempo tendremos resultado, o sea, el resultado de la aplicación de la FAFSA, es pues que depende de la escuela, la verdad, porque la escuela es la que recibe esa información de FAFSA y devuelve su oferta a ustedes. Pero más antes lo hacen mejor, porque si tardan mucho, si esperan hasta como marzo para hacer su solicitud de FAFSA, entonces no, pues pues vas a tardar más en tener la respuesta de la universidad. Así que no, mejor hacerlo ya. Y luego cuando aplicas a alguna universidad, te dan la respuesta a ellos.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, so families, do we have any other questions for Monica or Goodson or myself? Oscar, can you see the chat for that question that just came in?
Yes,
Okay.
I see a question here. It says, hello, when we applied my high income, when we applied my income was high, but I got married, but I'm still being responsible of the expenses of my two dependents because she filled out the application and she can't be put into that in full since last week.
Okay, so let me try to understand. So she had a high income, she recently got married, but she's still responsible for her children, her dependents, correct?
Permítame entender esto. Tuvo un ingreso alto, pero recientemente se casó, pero todavía es responsable por sus hijos.
You can unmute yourself too, if you.
No, mi ingreso no era alto, me equivoqué allí. Mi ingreso era bajo.
No, I was wrong there. My income was not high. My income was low.
Okay, yeah, you're still going to submit when you do your FAFSA for your student, you're still going to submit your income. And on the FAFSA, there is a tab that you can click on. It'll take you directly to the IRS where you put in your social security number and your information, and you can upload your tax information from the year prior, and it will upload onto the FAFSA. So you don't have to like go back and find your tax forms and, you know, copy everything from the page. You can actually upload it from the IRS. That is available for you on the FAFSA application.
Sí, por ejemplo, ella lo mete así la aplicación como está, como yo ya me casé, ¿verdad? Pero aún así yo en mi W2 solamente tengo dependiente a 2 de mis hijas, nada más.
Yeah, she files the application, but since I'm already married, but in my W2, I have the two dependents, just my two girls, two daughters.
She should include her 2 daughters. If she has 2 daughters, that needs to be included on the FAFSA too. There's a question under that asks how many are in your household. You want to include the number of people in your household.
Sí, va a querer incluir a sus 2 hijas en la aplicación. Hay una pregunta que dice el número de personas en su casa y usted incluye a sus hijas ahí.
Ok, está bien, muchísimas gracias. Me sacó de una duda muy grande.
Okay, all right. Thank you very, very much. You took me out from doubt. Thank you very much.
And also I wanted to raise, like, I had no idea how to do the FAFSA the first time I did it with my older kid. And I, like, at school, there was like workshops to do it, and they really walked us through it, and that helped a lot. So I don't know if your school, Dulce, would help you. Dulce, no sé, o sea, yo cuando primera vez yo llené la FAFSA, yo no sabía qué hacer, pero en la escuela de mis hijos me ayudaron y había como un taller para los papás venir con el hijo y hacerlo todo junto, y pues eso me ayudó mucho. Así que puede investigar eso.
¿Hay alguien allí en West High School?
Habrá. Is there anybody who can help with the FAFSA at West, do you think?
Yes, there are Miss G, her name is Miss G, Miss Grant. She can help students at West High School with FAFSA.
Ok, muchas gracias.
And if it is your first time completing the FAFSA, it is very intimidating because they ask everything under the sun. It can be very intimidating, especially if it's your first student. After a while, you kind of get the hang of it, but it can be very intimidating and tedious. It's not hard, but it's tedious.
Are there any other questions before I let you all go on this Saturday morning? If not, thank you so much for being here. We'll stay on, but want to let you all go and give you back time on your Saturday. Again, the presentations will be on our website as well as the recording. Have a great Saturday.
Thank
Thank you so much for the information.
Thank you all.
Thank you.